Hello and welcome to my Q&A of 2021. I've not done one of these since when my channel first started, but this is a sort of an apology for not putting many videos out this summer because I've been very busy. I've got a shiny new MA now, so that's very nice. Yes, let's get on with the questions and the answers, because with people who've asked multiple, I've got something in the region of 300 questions or something like that to answer, so let's not waste any time. Straight into them, let's go! Why is Stepney your favourite? It's a personal thing, really. Like, when I was younger, the Bluebell Railway was always my local steam railway, and visiting Stepney, seeing the face on him, and actually seeing the engine in person, and then going, wait a minute, this is what's on my TV screen. This is the engine that's in the show. This engine's been to Sodor. It's a very personal thing. It's just a little slice of Thomas, but in real life. And Stepney's just a lovely engine. It's a nice little small engine. Stepney's great, and he doesn't shine much in the books and in the show because he's not in it, but where he does, he's a firm favourite, even for people who've never seen the real thing. What is a railway you'd like to go to that you haven't been to? I have a few that people constantly ask me to go to, and believe me, I'd love to go there. Ravenglass and Eskdale is an obvious one. I really want to go to the Great Central, because I want to go on a double-track steam railway. I think that'll be very cool. So, also ones like the North Yorkshire Moors, all the big ones that I've not been to that are like the obvious ones to go to. Out of all of your Thomas episodes, which one was the hardest to make? I would probably say something like the Slate Escape, just because there was a lot of different things I needed to make before I even considered filming it, and a lot of difficult challenges to overcome with filming with 00 people in a lot of the scenes. It's one that I'd definitely go and redo, because it was very rushed at the time. There was a particular reason I was rushing it, and it looks awful with all the string being pulled and shaky camera. I think had I really taken the time to focus on it, as it should have been, one, things would have been slightly easier, and two, it would have looked a lot better. If time, money and space were no object, what 3 locations would you include in a mega layout of your dreams? Oh, that's a good one. Well, I'm absolutely head over heels in love with the Skarloey, so perhaps something like Crovan's Gate, or one of the stations up the line like Reneus or something really pretty. Maybe just like the whole loop line, like, I don't know, just a section of the Skarloey. If this is like a absolutely mega layout, then I suppose I've got room for Crovan's Gate to Vickerstown, maybe, just that as a section. And then, just for the sake of it, let's throw in the Culdee Fell all on one layout. That would be quite impressive, I imagine. If you hadn't been born and raised near the Bluebell Railway, do you think your favourite locomotive would have been different? That's a very good question. Probably, yeah. I think I still would have absolutely loved Stepney in the books and in the show. As I say, he doesn't do much, but he's lovable. But, yeah, I imagine, had I grown up near the Dean Forest Railway, maybe Wilbert would have been my favourite, I don't know. But I reckon so, yes. I think it would have just, my favourite engine just would have been anything that would have been on that line. I think I'm easily swayed by that. What is your second favourite class of steam locomotive? Probably the SECRP class, which is basically like an updated Terrier. Very basic like that, but they're lovely engines, and I just think they're neat. Are you familiar with Yugoslavian railways? Not really, no. My only exposure to them would be the 2 tank engines I saw at the Shillingston railway station project. From what I've been seeing otherwise, people have been sharing, there looks like some very interesting engines over there, but no, I don't know much about them. Have you seen the TCC Thomas series on the Thomas & Friends channel? Yes! There you go. What made you choose Hornby over other Thomas merchandise ranges, like TWR and Take and Play? Well, I like the sort of added element of realism with, I'm going to say 00, not necessarily just Hornby. You know, things that aren't just pushed along by hand. It just felt a little bit closer to the original show, with everything being motorised and, you know, rods on the wheels that actually move, and, you know, I don't want to cross into dangerous territory that's been asked before, but if I'd filmed with Thomas Wooden Railway or Take and Play, I feel like it would have seemed a lot more toy-like, and I don't think my stories would have fit that very well. Other than Stepney, which terrier do you like the most? Ooh, that's an interesting one. It'd probably be obvious and say Fenchurch. It's the other one that's at Bluebell. I love all the terriers. Freshwater's lovely. Freshwater's a very, very good engine. Yeah, maybe Fenchurch or Freshwater. Which other locomotive class do you like the most? I also like Great Western Halls and lots and lots of Southern designs, and I'm very basic, basically. What got you into making videos? Honestly, just inspired by a lot of other people on YouTube around 2012 who were also making videos or had been before me. I thought it was incredible that there's other people out there my age who are able to take what they love and make their own spin on it. I thought that's great. Like, you know, there's nothing stopping you. Why can't I do the same thing? I'm gonna give that a go, kind of thing. And it spiraled from there. So very much just based on what previous people had started doing already before I arrived, like a good 5 years before I rocked up. So, how much money did it take you to build your model railway? I have no idea. I can't give you a figure because my railway is an amalgamation of lots and lots and lots of recycled and second-hand things and things given to me, and just it's a whole mess. But model railways are very expensive. Wherever you can cut corners and make something yourself, I've tried to. So a lot of things are scratch built, which obviously keeps the cost down. If you can make something your own, you definitely should, doing it that way. You have problems making buffers on your models? ? Stepney's ones are so big. Yes, they are. I know exactly what you mean. When I made that Stepney model in 2015, yes, I'd made everything by eye, and I'd made the buffers huge. So much so I had to redo them and make them slightly less huge, but they're still way too big. I mean, there were terriers that had, like, large buffers fitted in industrial use, but, yes, they're not very scaled properly. But it's a very old model, and I shall blame my younger self for that. What if Diesel and Duck agree on each other? Well, what a happy world this would be. The real question would be, if Diesel exists and that's his name, are there other engines out there that are just simply called steam, or electricity, or hydrogen, or nuclear? Interesting world that would be. When can you do a fan meetup? I think the day I do an actually arranged fan meetup will be the day I am so far up my own bunker. I will happily say hi to people at steam railways and whatnot if you bump into me and sort of feel like, you know, hi, nice to meet you kind of thing. I'm not going to officially announce I'm going to like be standing here so that you can come and talk to me. I think the closest I'll ever get to that is maybe doing a model exhibition at some point and having a desk with a layout, and I say, you know, come over to this event, I'll be at this stand kind of thing. But no, I'm not a big enough user to do a fan meetup. No way. Haha. Oh, stop it. How many railways have you been to? Too many to count. I really wish I could give figures for these answers. I'm being a bit rubbish, but there are a lot of railways in the UK, and I've been to some abroad. I have no idea. But tune in next year, and I'll hopefully have a new series of videos which will delve into that a little bit more. So keep your eyes open, because that's how you see. Opinions on the reboot. Yeah, the first boot was nice, so, you know, you need a second one so you can walk properly. No, I really don't care about the reboot. Like, I genuinely just don't care. It's shocking. A big corporate company has ruined something that was once good in our eyes when we grew up. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's a story we've heard over and over again. I do laugh at it. I think it's absolutely stupid and ridiculous. Stupid and ridiculous. But, you know, I have bigger problems to worry about now. I'm an adult and life is scary. So seeing a little brat on screen doing loop-de-loops and going, whoa, because they can't think to rhyme with anything else in a theme song, like, it's their loss. There's no helping them now. All engines are gone. What are your favourite American steam locomotives? Okay, so, like most British steam rail people, I have a limited knowledge of American steam locomotives. there's the stereotype of American engines either being like Jupiter, the really old Wild West ones with the massive chimneys, or being like Big Boy and just being absolutely huge metal monsters. There doesn't seem to be like a middle. There doesn't seem to be a gradual progression between the two things, and there must have been. Favourite engines? I do like Daylight and whatever engine it is that Connor and Caitlin are based on, or the two engines they're based on. Is that Baltimore and Ohio or Pennsylvania? I have a very limited knowledge, but I think that those big express engines are very grand indeed, very stylish, and they inspired a lot of the British designs, really, like the Bullied Merchant Navies and a lot of Grizzly designs. You know, they're based on all those, so yeah, I love those. But then I also love the S-160s and the USA tanks and stuff that was exported just because they've been sort of familiarised with what I'm used to, I suppose. I do need to get more familiar with American engines, is what I'm finding out here. What's your favourite steam, diesel and electric loco? Steam, just Terriers. It just has to be. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Diesel, probably the Hymec Class 35. Very smart looking engines, perhaps a little flawed, but you know, still lovely. Electric loco, don't really have a favourite electric loco. Maybe the IET Class 800, Azuma, whatever they're called, Hitachis. Yeah, they crack me up. Are there any other shows beside Thomas that you've enjoyed? No. Thomas is the only show I've ever enjoyed. It's the only thing I've ever found love with. Really, I don't watch all that much TV. I'm trying to reduce the amount of hours I spend looking at a screen these days, but there's some other shows. Not that I can think of any on the top of my head. Does that answer your question? Oh god, I'm doing rubbish. I'm sorry. What do you think about doing a song? No, it's not really my thing. What do you think about adopting the Berry Trucks Push-Pull Percy? I didn't realise he'd put it up for adoption, but you know, if no one else wants it, then I'll give it a home. I think a few people have adapted that one before, so I'm not really fussed about adapting it. It's a lovely story, but I think it's been done a fair few times already. Are you a Sodor Fallout fan? Not really. I don't know much about it, honestly, but it comes up on my timeline all the time, and yeah, it's not really my thing. So therefore, no, I'm not interested in making a Sodor Fallout All I Want music video. I'm sorry. Are you going to do a YouTube poop? No, that was a long time ago since I ever made anything closely resembled to one of those, and my sense of humour was clearly awful back then. Are you interested in My Little Pony? No, not really. Not my thing. I like Welsh Pony. She's lovely, but yeah, not really. McDonald's or Burger King? McDonald's, all the time. Chicky McNugs, yeah, that's the life. What is a donut? It is what Lightning McQueen does when he's been naughty and he goes off in a tantrum and spins round in a circle. Hi Max, my son was so pleased to meet you on Saturday at the Taliesin Railway, as you are his favourite YouTuber. Oh, thank you very, very much. I was wondering if you could mention him in your next video, please. His name is also Max, and it would make his day, thank you. Well, hello Max, you have a lovely name, and it was lovely to meet you too. I hope you enjoyed the Taliesin Railway. I hope everyone does, whoever gets to visit. And again, thank you so much for watching my videos and being supportive. That's very, very kind of you. And what can I say? I'm flattered. If you wanted an engine restored, which one? I think one that's preserved, that I'd like to see like running again. I'm looking forward to Primrose coming back at Bluebell, but that is happening. Again, basic answer, but I'd love to see the Sterling single running again. I think that would be quite unique. I've seen videos of it in the 70s and it looks really fun, although perhaps slightly dangerous. Oh, no, Lion. I want Lion to steam again. I know it's museumified and plintzed, but Lion running again would be amazing. Like I can imagine just so many enthusiasts from around the world will sort of just come together because they love Lion, either as Lion herself or as the Titfield Thunderbolt. Imagine the memes. Oh, it would be a great day. What is your first Thomas merchandise or Stepney merchandise? Probably a Wooden Railway Thomas from like the late 90s or early 2000s, because my older brother was into Thomas by the time I was born. so I was very much just given what he already had. So very likely Thomas or something like that. And same with Stepney. My first Stepney merchandise would have definitely been the wooden railway one, the good one. Are there any of your older episodes that you wish you had made later on with the skills you had today? Are there any you'd like to remake? Perhaps one with a long brake van and an angry blue tank engine? Yes, I absolutely would, Nathan. I really wish I'd actually put more effort into Give Me a Break, because it's cursed me ever since. I feel like I've learnt a lot, not even in terms of techniques and filming, sort of like, oh, you know, frame the camera like this and don't move the camera, otherwise it'll be shaky and things like that. I've learnt just a lot in terms of effort and passion and wanting to do something, and higher production values will result in a better video. And at the same time, I don't want to keep covering the same ground. I want to try new things, write new episodes, and, you know, show my skills through that instead. And then the older episodes are essentially a testament to my journey and what I was doing at that particular time. Some of my episodes are 8 or 9 years old now, so it's not surprising they have aged, I suppose. And just simply, how are you doing? Hope all is well. I'm okay. I have absolutely worn myself out this year, and I feel it. I've done way too much. It doesn't show on the channel, but this has been a really busy year for me. Things are looking up for the future, and I'm still able to do what I love, and I'm very grateful for that. But yes, I have absolutely cream-crackered myself this year, and I would like to just take a break for a second, because it's been manic. But I'm doing okay. In the Thomas fandom, who or what inspires you the most? Anyone who's doing their own thing, makes their own mark, doesn't just copy something that already exists, but really tries to be original and offer a new idea on something. When I made my channel, the biggest inspirations I definitely remember at the time would have been TARDIS Rescue, Enterprising Engine 93, Streaking Steam Productions, if they're still called that, SI3D Films, I don't know. Same with Scarlet 123. There's probably a couple of others, but yes, there was a bundle of people I watched their videos constantly, and I thought I would love to do what they're doing. One, it looks really fun, but two, what a brilliant way of sort of venting creativity into something. And nowadays, since then, people have done some incredible things. Yeah, there's some incredibly talented people that I've been lucky enough to work with, and there's so many that I've yet to properly get to know. But this is a very creative fandom, let's put it that way. Whether that be music making, model making, 3D or real, there's honestly, wow. And there's some cringy sides to it too, but you know, for the most part, it's a good world. During your time in the fandom, what was the best piece of advice you have received? There's probably an awful lot of advice I've soaken up throughout the years from different people, but I think not necessarily to always be original, but I think to just remember what it is you're trying to make and why you're trying to make it is good advice. But I suppose adding on to that, if I had to offer my own advice, it would be remember that a lot of the stuff people make is for passion. We're all here not as a job. No one's employed by YouTube to make these videos. We've all started this because it's our passion. We loved these shows growing up, and we want to show that in some way by making our own stuff or enjoying it in a lot of cases. And I think just remembering that we're here for fun is quite important. Don't need to knock people down if something they made isn't like to your standard, isn't quote unquote good. Just remembering we're all here because we want to be here. We want to just share and enjoy these things that we are fond of and grew up with. It's fine to treat things seriously and produce things to the best quality as if it was a proper film studio and sort of like, you know, you want it to be really good. But at the same time, just having a passion project is the best way to test your skills, because you're not following a brief by anyone else. You're not being told to make things a particular way to please them. You're making things entirely yourself, and you can do whatever you want. So, as I say, it's the best place to try and find what works for you and what doesn't. Yeah, TED Talks with me. Terrier82 Boxhill asks, do I have permission to use the name format? Well, you've kind of already taken it. I've had a lot of people just take the username sort of format that I've taken, and about 12 people apparently on Roblox who have just taken my name. Cheers! You know, I'm not going to stop you from using whatever name you like, because I haven't copyrighted my username, and if I have, it's copying off of an engine that was built in 1875, so, you know, I can't speak. But at the same time, I would just definitely encourage you to be original and come up with your own username. I've already had this conversation with the previous Terrier82 Boxhill, who you must have taken the name from immediately after they changed it. Be yourself. Don't try and be me. I find it difficult enough to be me. Try and find out what you are and make your own name that way. This is getting deep, isn't it? Would you rebuild your 00 model railway if you had the chance? Absolutely I would. I'm really wanting to make a smaller layout, probably a 009 Skarloey or Talislin layout. I love Fairymount to bits, but it's very much a train set. It's a double track train set starter pack, you know, running in a loop, and it's great fun while I'm at home just to run trains and have a laugh, but I'm living away from home now and I cannot take that layout with me because it's too big. It can never leave that house. It'll have to be dismantled. The whole reason I rebuilt it in 2018 was because it was sort of halfway between being rebuilt, and I'd left it in such a state that my parents were like, well, what are we going to do with this? Like, we should probably move it to, like, the shed or something. And they went off to Australia, and I was like, right, this is the time. So I just rebuilt the whole thing to what it is now, and Harry came over and helped, and I made it look nice again. As if to say, look, I'm still using it. Don't put it in the shed where it's going to get sort of mould and condensation and probably freeze up and everything. But, you know, it is just a sort of a plaything. I'd love to make a proper layout with everything I've learnt and actually have something I could potentially take to exhibitions and things. Do you have any more plans to do any more Trainz videos or no? I would love to do more Trainz videos. There is a reason I stopped doing Trainz videos, is because I don't have Trainz anymore, or at least I don't have a computer strong enough to handle it. When I did have Trainz, it was on my home computer back at my parents' house, and whilst I've been at university, and then university again, I've had a laptop, but nothing that can actually handle Trainz, so I just haven't been able to film with it. But having said that, when there was a Steam sale a few months ago, I bought Trainz 2019, is it? Whichever one's the good one at the minute, and I would love to start filming with that again, but not until I can get a computer that's strong enough to handle it, so I suppose I'll start sort of saving money for that. Do you have an interest in steam locomotives from other countries? I have a limited knowledge of railways abroad, but I do appreciate them, and again, it's something I'd love to actually properly get to know more. Will you continue the Thomas stories? Yeah, at some point. Again, I've just been so busy and I've not had the space to film anything that big. I do find them fun to make. I've got billions of ideas stored up. I just haven't got a filming outlet to actually make them. If you could go back in time and ask Wilbert Audrey anything, what would it be? What are some of the designs of the 80 or so NWR engines, or the ones that never made it into the books? I think it would sort of open up the world a bit more if we just knew what he had in mind. He wanted some of these engines, for instance, and whatnot. Other than that, I suppose just fancy a cup of tea or something, I don't know. I'll get more questions out of him that way. How many live frogs have you caught in your life? None as of yet, but, you know, every day's a new day. I've caught a hedgehog before, as you may have seen in my vlogs. There's an awful lot of animals in my life, so who's to say? But in all seriousness... Oh, you weren't being serious? Oh, okay. As a former stop-motion animator, I've got to ask, what the hell possessed you to major in that? I'm genuinely curious. Good question. Well, I think stop-motion is incredible, and I think it's such an art to be able to make something not moving come to life, but it's a real, actual object. Very, very fascinating art form indeed. As to what made me want to get a master's in something like that, well, through YouTube I've realised that I love filmmaking and actual tangible objects and making things come to life like that. And one gateway into that is stop motion, and that's very much appreciated still in the current animation world, I suppose. Live action filmmaking isn't really present as much as it was, sort of like with Thomas and Thunderbirds and things like that. But stop motion, on the other hand, is still sort of making strides, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give this a go. This was me in 2018. I thought I'm gonna give the Golden Morph competition a go, and I had it, and I thought that was actually really fun to make. Stressful as anything, but I would love to do more of that. And after all the tears and everything during the process, once I'm done, I look back and think that was really fun to make. So there we go, gone and got a degree in it. But I'd love to have a job in a studio or something at some point, sort of working up to that. That's essentially like a dream job, to work at Aardman. So if anyone has any connections and can link me up, then please, I'm quite friendly. How many models do you own as of right now? Again, can't give you an exact number, but when I counted a few years ago, I think it was like 30 or 40, but I've sold a lot since then. I've bought a lot of others since then. I haven't got my models with me where I'm living, so I can't count them for you, but it's in the tens. What's your favourite railway besides the Bluebell? Tallis Lynn, obviously. Favourite episode or episodes of Thomas? Glad you said episodes, because probably Sleeping Beauty / Grandpuff. Or the other way round, isn't it? Grandpuff and Sleeping Beauty. David Mitten and team at their very best. Favourite loco livery you've seen? I do love Improved Engine Green, it has to be said. But I think it only works best on small engines, like Stepney, or there's some miniature engines that have been painted up in it. It looks really nice. And, you know, Gladstone gets away with it, but anything bigger, not really. Like, I would hate to see Bullied Pacific painted in Improved Engine Green, for instance. In terms of like an original livery, maybe like the Keighley and Worth Valley red that's on their Ivet tank at the minute, 4141. I really like that. I think that's ever so smart with the black lining, so maybe something like that. If you could go back in time and watch trains at any station, which would you choose? Very nice question. I'd probably choose my hometown station, and I can't say what that is because I don't want stalkers, but terriers ran through it at some point, I know that much. I think it would be really amazing to see something I'm so familiar with, but how it used to be. If not, then maybe one of the bigger junction stations, well, probably Brighton. I think that would be a hive of activity back in the day. Any era in Steam, really. In the early days, it'd be quite interesting. Favourite Guerrero Loco? I do like the Halls. Halls are very smart engines. What's your favourite loco excluding terriers? Probably the SECRP class. I know I'm basic as hell saying that. It's basically like an updated terrier. What happened to your 2 videos about Scarlowy being fixed for his 150th birthday? My voice broke. It's just cringe, and they're very old engines, and the videos haven't aged well. They didn't age well as soon as they came out. Same with a lot of other videos. They're still on my channel, and I think you can still watch them. I think they're in the playlist, unlisted, but I've moved on from then, and I can do better, and I don't want to be known by videos like that. Excluding any terriers, what is your most favourite model in your collection? Probably the Bachmann E4. I really like that. It's an older model now, but like, it's such a sturdy design. It's like a brick. The one I've got, Birch Grove in Southern Olive, runs really well. It's never let me down. Nice strong engine. Yeah, it's just really nice model, I think. Dapol B4 I've found quite impressive. The Hatton's P-Class, obviously, really love that. But yeah, let's go for the E4. How many questions can you answer in a minute? Okay, well, I've been speaking fast anyway, but there's so many questions to get through. Let's give it a go. 3, 2, 1, go. Is cereal a soup? No, definitely not. I mean, you wouldn't put vegetable in a bowl and then put, like, just the sauce on top, would you? Like cereal. Like, obviously milk is not... No. Out of all the stories in the Railway series, which is your favourite and why? Probably Bowled Out, or something like Sleepy Beauty again, or anything from Very Old Engines, very good stories, or Escape, or Gallant Old Engine as well, that's lovely, just because they're so nice and sort of heroic and, I don't know, just realism and all of that, yeah. What do you think of Queen, and do you have a favourite song from them? I like Queen a lot, but as much as anyone else, so I don't know too much about them apart from their mainstream stuff. I literally went to a festival like 2 nights ago where there was a tribute band about them, and it was great. Favourite song? Oh, let's be different. Maybe something like Winter's Tale. Break Free's good, and all of the mainstream ones are amazing. If someone were to travel to England across the pond, what would be the best places to see in your opinion? I will do a lot more on this next year because I'm planning a lot of videos for just in the future, but obviously the Bluebell Railway or Talyllyn or any other steam railway engines that you've always wanted to see, you may as well while you're over here. London's a bit too obvious, it's too city, it's too touristy. Go somewhere pretty, go to Wales, Scotland, Ireland, or the Lake District, or Devon and Cornwall, or somewhere pretty, and do stuff that's off the beaten track and just sort of try and find your way, because England's very quaint like that. Can you see this? See what? Are there any particular models you want for your collection but can't get for whatever reason? I want more 009 Scarlowy stuff, but I'm rubbish at kit building and the kits are very hard to come across, especially for the coaches and some of the engines, so anything that could boost my collection, I'm just waiting for all the ready-to-run stuff. What got you into Thomas? I just had all the VHSs when I grew up and all the toys, and its steam engines are just amazing, and I think it's a very well crafted TV show, and it's just amazing. It's the same reason why you're probably into Thomas. Have you watched Hilda? No. Is your username Terrier55 Stepney because Terrier is what Stepney is and 55 is Stepney's number and Stepney is his name? By Jove, you've cracked it. There's no stopping humanity now. Do you collect a Bandai Sodor mail van? No. Do you ever plan holiday trips to Tasmania? No. Filmed much on your train set? I'd like to film more on it, to be fair. Like, doing the pandemic video was quite fun. I film bits here and there, like when I get a new engine or something, but I never really have any video to put them towards. But yes, I've filmed fair bits on there. Interested in Aston 7 motor cars or classic minis? I love classic minis. I don't know much about cars, but I do have appreciation for nice cars. The car I did my driving test in was a newer Mini, and I've got a fondness for them already. Have you ever wanted to get into live steam, both road and rail of any kind? I'd love to get into live steam, but very expensive, and don't really have the room for that. But maybe in the future I'll have like a garden railway, that's the dream. I'd love to own like a traction engine one day as well, but list of bucket list things. Have you ever seen Sammy's live stream and Thomas and the other shows? Nope. Okay, I'm starting to realise that doing as many questions as I can in a minute is, 1, going to kill my throat, 2, annoy everyone who I'm answering the questions for, and 3, I've lost count of what a minute is. Let's go back to normal and just say I answered 60 per minute. I answered 60 questions per minute. Aside from Stepney, who's your favourite character in Thomas? Probably Scarlowy or Rheneas, for similar reasons. Love them to bits. But a lot of that is because of the real engines, I suppose, and I also love Oliver and Toad. Impossible to just choose one character. I like the ones that come as pairs and work off of each other, clearly. Railway series or TV series? Obviously Railway series, but, I grew up with the TV series. I love it to bits, but I think the TV series is essentially a gateway into the books, and there's so much more to find out. And the books themselves are a gateway into real-life railways. So it's a gradual ladder into steam. What is your favourite Thomas series that you have voiced in? Ooh, I've voiced in so many. It's always fun voicing for Nathan's series, Thomas the Train's Adventures, just because I've known him for so many years. When I record my lines, I know I can just mess around and have a laugh with him. People I don't voice for so much, I try and be a little bit more serious, because, that's what they're after. The same with Harry when he did do videos, like we've got the same sense of humour, so I can throw in things that I know will make him laugh, and it makes everything feel a bit more natural when recording. What's your favourite Thomas series that you haven't voiced in? Ooh! I've been very lucky that I've voiced in a lot of series that my inspirations have created, so I don't think I've done anything for TARDIS Rescue or Sodor's NWR Steam, so yeah, I'll leave my business card for them, because I like their work. I wouldn't mind voicing in that. There's probably others though, but I'm never setting out to be a voice actor. I just sort of do it on the side. What are your opinions on railroads in America? Well, if you mean like steam railways, I think there should be more of them, like Strasbourg and whatnot. I think they're great. I think it's very nice that there are places like that where people with that interest can go and appreciate the same thing together, and these things are preserved. I'd love to fly over there and visit all of the engines, because it would be just so different to what I'm used to. What's your favourite Hit Era episode? Rosie's Funfair Special, because Stepney's in it? No. I can't remember any of them, to be honest with you. I think some of the Season 8 ones were okay. I remember watching the ones where Sir Handel came back quite a lot. Oh, and Duncan on the Old Mine. That was quite a fun episode. That was different. Maybe one like that. Which Thomas season is your favourite? Definitely Season 4. What Thomas VHS tapes do you remember owning growing up? The complete collection of Season 1, 3 and 4. Things like Spooks and Surprises for Season 5. And I had the sing-along VHS as well, which was just amazing. And I had a lot of use like rewinding that. Do you still own some of the models you had when you were younger? Like the James Express Train set we saw in the 75 years video? Yes and no. I've still got more or less everything from sort of back then. There's some things that are missing. I've got my first engine, for instance. James was my second ever engine. But I sold him to Harry years ago because I just didn't need him anymore. But on the agreement that should I ever want him back, I could get him back and buy him off of him again. And I don't want Harry to sell him on to anyone else. I think I just needed money at the time and he wanted a James. Yeah, I should probably get him back into my collection at some point, just to preserve that, I suppose. I've still got all the coaches, they were used in the Polar Express video. Would you save an LBSCR K-Class or an E2? I would rather save a K-Class because they are very pretty engines, and one was so close to being preserved. It's a crying shame. I think it would have fit in really well at somewhere like Bluebell, or the National Collection really. An E2 would be nice, but you wouldn't be able to just see it as a steam engine, you'd just see it as Thomas, and I think that could cause a whole lot of trouble with the clash between Thomas fans and people who actually run railways. There's a divide there. When's that history video on Fenchurch? I've got to get round to that. I've got a lot of videos to catch up on. A list so long, it's long and long. So, in the future, if all goes well. Is a hot dog a sandwich? No. It's a hot dog, it's its own thing. It's a subcategory of the Subway. What's your opinion on the OCs the fandom has created? There's good and bad. Some are overrated, some have no effort, some are just copy-paste characters of others. But amongst all of that, there are some good ones, I think. It's sort of like Flora when she was introduced. Toby's USP was he's a tram engine, he's the only one on the island. Then they just got another one. It's like he's no longer special, he's just a tram. Flora did not add anything, but she just destroyed that legacy. Thomas is the only E2 surviving, and you don't just bring in another one, because then he's just not special. Thomas is the fastest. Having said that, I've got barely any OCs of my own, and I've never successfully introduced any that I had planned to, so I can't speak. Do you believe in the two Henrys theory? I mean, Audrey in his notes referred to Henry I and Henry II, but no, I think it's the same Henry. William Stanier's just a legend at building, and he rebuilt whatever mess Henry was into a Stanier Black 5 somehow. Don't know how he did it. He may have just melted down all of the metal and just rebuilt him and stuck the face back on, but he did it. I think it's meant to be the same engine. I think in terms of story, it works better that Henry had to go through all of that, and he's not just a new engine, so as fun as it may be, I think Henry's the same engine. I did write a film on that at one point, but that got lost to time. On a daily basis, how much do you whip and nay-nay? I can't believe you'd ask such a question. All the time, obviously. What are your other interests besides Thomas, tugs and trains? I'm into Titanic as well, I suppose, and in terms of planes, I like Thunderbirds, so transport in general. Not too much interested in cars, but still, model making, I suppose, is a separate thing. And animation, again, and filmmaking. Not much for the way of sport, but I cycle, and I like travelling an awful lot, which is probably obvious. I'm quite boring, I'm realising. Favourite food? I like a good roast. Anything within that, it's like a Yorkshire pudding with gravy. Oh. Or, as previously mentioned, I can eat an awful lot of chicken nuggets, so. Favourite drink? Don't want to be boring again, but tea. I have like a fair bit of tea. or like a latte or a mocha. Very good. I'm a hot drink guy apparently, though I can never drink it piping hot, so I'm not a hot drink guy. Will you play Among Us with your subscribers? Among Us is dead, and I will play with my patrons, but not with just subscribers. Sorry, you've got to pay for such luxuries. Do you like my profile picture? Is what I imagine it's saying. Yes. Will you subscribe to my channel? The Fat Controller laughed. What is your favourite non-speaking Railway Series character? Oh, there's that crane in the Christopher Audrey books. He looks friendly. I was about to say Butch. Butch is not in the Railway Series. No, I know what I'm going to say. Ivor Hugh. Ivor Hugh doesn't say a word in the Railway Series, but I like Ivor Hugh. Tom Rolt's a fun boy. Yeah. What's your favourite season of the Hit era? Season 8, I think, I suppose. That is Hit, right? Because I think it's old enough now where it's just becoming sort of nostalgic for those who grew up with it. And I didn't grow up with it much, but it was on when I was growing up. So, if you could have preserved any steam locomotive, which would you have preserved and why? Probably a LBSCR K-Class. I think it's a shame that they're not preserved. Your videos are not rubbish, it is great. Thank you, Leo. That's very kind. This one going rubbishly so far, though, you've got to agree. What's the hardest Thomas model train video you've made so far? Anyone with, like, big crashes in? Due to how difficult it was and the time constraints, the Polar Express one was difficult to make because I didn't really have time to work out problems or redo things. It was very much a case of Christmas is next week and I've got to get the music done, so just make do with whatever and just come up with solutions. So with the ice I had to find these like perspex sheets and just roll with it, and you know, the stop motion was a bit janky, but like I didn't have time to do anything else, so maybe that. But anything else with big ambitious crashes always take a long time. As you've played Minecraft, will you try Roblox? If you ever do, here's a list of great train games. Been on Roblox before, many years ago, in my younger self. I'm one of those people that hasn't been on it since it's sort of improved, and I've seen what people can do with it in terms of animating and crashing and filming and all of that, and it looks very impressive as a game. The graphics have gone up a lot. I still remember the days of like the steam versus diesel thing where they're up in the sky. That's what I sort of remember of Roblox, and I know it's not like that anymore. Oh, and then the Titanic game as well, which is pretty cool. I don't plan to play it again, really, though we'll see. What is your dream state of the Thomas the Tank Engine franchise? What kind of merchandises are available? What types of media are there? Same with everyone's answer, harking back to the model era, obviously, in season 4 and 5 or whatever, and sort of that's the dream. And the merchandise will be, honestly, a lot of the later stuff we got. I think I'm a fan of the new Wooden Railway stuff that being released. I think, considering everything that's going on with the show, we're very lucky to have merchandise like that. It looks really good, and younger me would have loved something like that. But realistically, I think season 20 was sort of like a pinnacle and a nice sort of meeting point for combining the old and the new. I think that was a pretty decent state for Thomas to just rest in for the rest of its life, but nope, wasn't working clearly. And again with Lost Treasure, I think that was like a perfect agreement, nostalgia and progression. Have you ever considered a remake of one of your earlier projects? Yeah, as discussed before, a lot of things have aged awfully, but it was me learning at the time, and you know, I don't want to change that. I think it's nice to show where I've come from, sort of thing, even if it is cringe AF. Plus, I just don't have the time. I've got to, you know, I'd rather focus on new things. What's the life of you as a YouTuber? Well, I'm well aware that my life that appears on the screen in the videos probably differs from how you guys would expect my life to be in real life, but not to say I perform for YouTube, but like, when there's a camera there, you don't act your natural self, and perhaps people that I've met in person could vouch for me on that. I don't know. I still don't see myself as a YouTuber. I do just genuinely go and enjoy trains in different places, take a camera with me, and play with models, and once it's uploaded as a video, I don't really sort of, it's not really in my thoughts anymore. I'm moving on to the next thing. But then that's when you guys see it, and that's crazy to me, that so many people are essentially playing trains with me, but there it is. You're in charge of organising a railway gala. You can choose the theme, which railway is held at, and 5 engines to be the main attractions. What are your choices of these categories? Challenge, you can only choose 2 terriers. I see. Well, that is a challenge, because I would say a great terrier gathering for their 150th anniversary and get all 10 of them together. That would be ideal. That would be one idea, if not counting your categories. But if not, as simple as it may be, I think it would be amazing to do a Thomas Gala. Remember when Talisman did the 150th Gala and they had Russell and Prince visit, and it just felt so perfect because it felt like there was just the Scarlowy Railway engines all together in one place. I'd love to do something like that and get some big names. Get Stepney up, Scotsman and City of Truro maybe, and Wilbert, and then a load of the actual bases, but like sort of painted up, a black 5 in green. And wouldn't it just be fun to have that? Just such a mix of colours all in one place. Paint Scotsman blue. Let's just do it. That would be the theme. That's at least 5 engines. We'd have a Thomas Gala. Favourite type of pizza? Barbecue chicken or something along those lines? First question. Terrier 55 Stepney, where do you live? Not exactly, but I mean which region. For example, Sussex, because you always seem to easily get to the Bluebell Railway. But the thing is, I don't know. Well, the thing is, I'm not telling you. I don't want to tell you where I live. I lived in Sussex because the Bluebell Railway was my local railway. That much is obvious, to be fair. Since then, I've been at university and another university, and I've lived in 3 or 4 different places since then, and I'm all over the place, as my videos will probably show. I'm a Duracell bunny. I never keep still in one place, apparently. How do you get to all these different places, such as the Talisman and the Isle of Wight? Do you just drive there? Yeah, well, following on from the previous answer, I suppose. I just get about. So I have a driving licence, but I don't have a car. So a lot of this is travelling by train or going up with other people. I do get around, as the Beach Boys once said. I don't know, I just go. I just sort of travel. Anyone who has met me at these different places will know I don't really plan much. Things happily happen. Some things won't be organised until the very last second, and then off we go. But you can bet that once I am out, I will pack every single second with something to do. What's been your favourite and least favourite stories to write or make, and why? I always love writing for the Scarlowy stuff. I think they're just such a lovely, cohesive little gang. They're a challenge to write to at the best of times, because you do really feel the pressure to get them right. Whereas there's been so many interpretations with the standard gauge lot, and they've sort of been written to death in different ways. And the Scarlowy gang, everyone knows what they're supposed to be, and once you get it right, it's very heartwarming and wholesome. They'll be my favourite stories to have written for, and I'd love to just do Scarlowy stories for the rest of my life. Least favourite? Honestly, any videos where I know I've not put much effort into. I remember Driver Miss Daisy, I didn't much put effort into. I think I just wrote that because I thought, that's a funny title. Give me a break. Any of the stories that aren't just publicly available on my channel anymore, probably the least favourites, just because I know I should have tried more, and, you know, had I cared about it, then I would have. Also, is Smokey Joe that jumped the Ring of Fire still around? He is still around. He's living a happy retirement now. He's still missing one eye from the event. I don't know where his other eye went. His funnel's still off, but I've got it. I don't really plan to do much with him. I like him how he is. Why did you delist your old Halloween special, Curse of the Tunnel? It's still online, and every Halloween I'll make it public, but I think other than that I just keep it unlisted, just because it's so old. It was the first story I ever released on YouTube. Again, my voice, it's a little bit high-pitched. It's just embarrassing, you know. I don't want people to stumble across my channel through that and think, oh my gosh, this is cringe. I have people in the real world who have access to my channel, and I don't like the thought of them seeing things like that, let alone anything on my channel, but some are worse than others. But it's unlisted. I think if you go in the playlists on my channel, you can watch them there. Where are you in South Wales, and how far away are you from the Blaenavon Railway? Well, this is very overdue. I was in Tenby in South Wales, and as you'll see, I have visited the Pontypool and Blaenavon Railway. I plan to do a couple of videos on it. Do you ever plan on making more Ivor content? Absolutely. I loved doing the Ivor animation a few years ago. It was meant to be a lot longer. I was meant to do a proper episode, but I thought I'd keep it just as a test, because I thought if I did it properly I could do it better. If Stuart's up for it, then yes, I'd love to make more Ivor things. Ivor needs more love. It takes a long time. I've got to get a lot of other videos out the way first. But if people like it, then absolutely. And if anyone wants to hire me for the Ivor live-action remake, then get in contact. Where do babies come from? Okay, I shall ask Holly. She'll probably have the answer to that. Time for the actual question. Do you have any new custom models in the works? If not, are there any plans for new custom models? I've been so focused on building stuff for animating things, so they're technically customs, but they're not Thomas things. I've got a couple engines in the works and things, but I will let those be revealed once the actual projects are done. One thing I would like to do immediately is to make a Stepney out of the Hornby Brighton works. I have one, I just haven't got round to it yet. I need the transfers for it. And I really want to boost my Scarloey stuff in 009 and get some coaches finished and spruce up the engines a bit more, you know, actually focus on that properly. There's a motorbike outside. I don't plan to model motorbikes at any point, but the signs are there. Will you ever get any Australian model trains, or are you just sticking to British stuff? There's some really cool Australian designs that I'd love to model, but that would be diverting from what I want to focus on, which is, at the minute, Scarloey stuff. So, not anytime soon, unless I model like Battlerat, the Fletcher Jennings style engine that's very similar to Dolgok, maybe. There's also the New South Wales Terriers, which would be pretty fun to model, so maybe, but not anytime soon. Why did Stepney become your channel icon? Just because I grew up with the engine. Not physically, he wasn't sort of in my house, sadly, but it's just a personal connection of seeing him on the TV screen, seeing him in the books, and then realising he's a real engine, visiting him in person, going up in the cab when I was very young, and just being absolutely thrilled. Stepney has always been my favourite, so when I came to make a channel, the obvious answer for a name was to base it around him. Though, having said that, I would love to change my name to something that's more personal. Can you upload more short-formed content if you're busy? Yes, I need to... I'm trying to just catch up with videos. Give me a chance. Give me a break. We'll get there. I'd love to make things that just aren't vlogs and gaming videos again. Just, like, you know, properly focusing on Thomas episodes and stories and shorts, but I've got to work up to that and get things out of the way first. But I'm back, baby, and I mean business. Have you been to Australia? I have, when I was 2 or 1. My granny lives over in Australia, and she's nearly 100, so I may be going to celebrate her birthday. But it's a long way away, and it's a lot of money, so in my memory, I've never been to Australia, but because I've got family out there, I definitely will, and I look forward to it. What was your favourite memory when working on Thomas the Train's adventures? Again, probably voicing. I've written a lot of stories for that way back when. The stories I wrote for that were probably from my sort of darkest period when I was in school, and I was not edgy, but sort of, I wasn't in a happy place, and I think that probably reflected in my writing, and I'm not the proudest of the things I've written. There's some nice moments, but yeah, probably the voicing itself, because I used to voice quite a few characters, some major ones too. I was the storyteller, and Thomas, and Glyn, and Scarloey, and Stepney, all the number ones, so there's a lot of happy memories there. Who is your most favourite terrier? Really? Well, Stepney, but if not, then as discussed, probably Fenchurch. How did your friendship with Harry begin? Ah, there's a tale. I was volunteering in the 9F club at Bluebell Railway when I was younger. I'd only just really made my channel at that point. I turned up late one day, wanted to volunteer in the yards on loco stuff, but it was too late, and because I'd turned up late. So they made me go up on the train to Horse the Keens and help on the steam crane instead, which is parked there, painting and restoring that instead. And I was fine with that. That was fun. Whilst I was there, I was cleaning the axle boxes or something, and I heard someone singing a rap from a YouTube poop online in a very high-pitched voice, and he mentioned the word 10 cents, or the words, and I immediately knew what he was talking about, and I went up to him and I was like, that's from Tugs, isn't it? You, I was like treading very carefully, because I didn't want to be outed for being a Tugs/Thomas fan, but that was Harry. And after that, we had a friendship that couldn't be broken. How cute. But yeah, basically it just started because we happened to volunteer at the same place, at Bluebell, and he mentioned something I knew. So, there you go. Are you going to visit other railways you haven't been to that have terriers? I've been to every railway that has a terrier, apart from Bressingham and the Canadian National Railway Museum. It is Canada, right? The one that's got Wadden. Anyway, yeah. I'd love to visit Martello and Wadden, but yes, not yet. Though next year, who knows? Big plans for terriers. Do you plan on travelling again for more vlogs? Absolutely. I don't really travel anywhere for a vlog. I travel and take a camera with me. A lot of the times I'll be going to these places anyway. But absolutely, I love travelling and meeting new people and old friends, and it's really fun. I love seeing new places. I think that's what life's all about. What was the first Thomas episode that you ever watched? I do not remember, but I grew up with, season 4 for sure, but I don't know what else. Probably season 1. I can't remember what my first episode is, but it'd be one of those 2 seasons. Did you visit the Somerset and Dorset Railway Trust? I have done, if that's the one at Shillingston Station. A place up at Yeovil, isn't there? Oh, there is a separate Somerset and Dorset Railway Trust, isn't there? I can't remember what station that is, but any of the working lines I've not been to yet, no, but in the future, who knows? What's your favourite LNER class? I do have a soft spot for the A4s. I know it's basic, but I think they are quite a magnificent design. When you did the Startug docks, you took a photo of Sunshine next to the Titanic Museum. What did Sunshine have to say about the old SS Nomadic, which is a tender ship? I don't know, because my Ertl Sunshine was very rude and he didn't say anything to me. But I'll tell you what I think. I love SS Nomadic. I'd love to go back and properly film in Belfast. There's a lot to see up there, so we'll be back. Any recommendations for a classic series face for the Diapet 64? I don't collect Diapets, so I have no idea. How do you make your videos so good? Ah, that's very kind. I make them through kind comments like that, and the motivation to want to do well. It's all about motivation, honestly. If I want to make a good video, you don't really stop until you make it good. It's all about passion. And as I say, making projects for yourself, or for things you love, is such a big difference to making things because you have to. There you go. I'm not agreeing that my videos are good, but I do think good videos come from desire to be good. If you were to visit a heritage railroad in the USA, which line would it be? Probably Strasbourg, because I can't really think of many others. Though, as I say, I know it's not America, but I'd love to visit the Canadian National Railway Museum. America has a National Railway Museum, I think. I don't know, but I'd like to go there. Do you support the bill to enforce ducks to wear pants? I think Montague would be very cross, but quite smart. Do you have a model train layout? Yes, I do. It's called the Fairymount Steam Railway. It's a very basic circular loop. It's in a fair few of my videos, but I'd like to make another layout. Do you like YouTube poops? Yes, I do. Do you have a favourite YouTube poop creator? I'll tell you what, the Thomas and Tugs man. Your stuff's pretty good. I enjoy yours, and I can't remember a lot of the other names, but yes, I do enjoy a good laugh. We watch them sometimes in my Discord group. Did you ever get into Bob the Builder, and what are your overall thoughts on the franchise? I had like 2 episodes on VHS when I grew up, and I think it's a very cute and stylised show. It's very, very distinctive. I can't believe that it got like in the charts and like top #1 in the UK for music like more than once. I think that's crazy. But yeah, I love Bob, and I think the CGI one is rubbish, obviously, but the classic stuff's good. What tips do you give to those who start to plan to build a model railway? I've not built a proper scenic model railway ever. I've made a train set, basically. I would say try not to do too much. Don't try and cover everything. Make things look nice. Don't try and have everything on one board. You know, I'm going to have a church and a dockyard and oh, there must be a viaduct and a tunnel. Make things nice and simple and really boost the energy through that. And I'd also say you don't have to spend loads on branded things and branded scenic items. Wherever you can, try and make it yourself. Things will take longer, but you'll feel so proud once you've made something that you feel is your own. Something that can't be bought off a shelf. So, there we go. Have you ever considered quitting one time? Yes, I've thought many times this will be my last year, and I think some videos show that. I think I've reached a stage where I'm like, I'm getting older, I want to get a house and a job and all of that. I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life, or at least I can't really get away with doing this for the rest of my life. Like, I didn't think I'd be doing this for so long. When I made my channel, I was a child. For now, I'm staying. I really do love making videos for YouTube. It's been very fun, and I've met a lot of my friends through doing this. But at the same time, my channel is growing and evolving and aging with me. As it's probably obvious, I'm doing different things now compared to what I did when I started, because I was a lot younger. And I'm never going to just up and delete the channel, but times they are a-changing. Yeah, there's been moments, but we're still steaming strong. How old were you when you first visited the Bluebell Railway? I would have been 0 or 1, because, as I say, my brother was into trains, and my nan took us both down to the Bluebell Railway. It's very possible that Stepney was the very first engine I ever saw. Have you ever been to the NRM? I was on the doorstep in 2020. But no, I first went in 2013 for the Great Gathering of all 6 surviving A4s for Mallard's 75th anniversary. I'd love to go back. I'm starting a 00 layout and I'm wondering what tender engine you think would be good starting engine. I'm thinking Scotsman. Yes, Flying Scotsman is the obvious starter engine. It was one of the first engines I had, and you can get them relatively cheap, and you don't have to worry that they are rare. What I'd advise is looking on places like eBay and such second-hand places, because you can probably get some nice models, maybe tailor it towards the engines you like specifically. But Scotsman's a very good starter engine, I agree. If you ever go to Australia, there is a state that would remind you of Britain. Okay, I will eventually go to Australia, but for now, Britain reminds me of Britain, I suppose. Not that I need to be reminded. I love to explore the rest of the world, to be honest. It's not all about Britain. This isn't the Victorian age. How old are you and birth year? I'm 22, and I was born in 99. What year did you first get into Thomas? I've just been into it all my life. I don't remember a specific year. It's never left me. Do you have autism? I don't, personally. Whereabouts in England, Britain, do you live? I live down south. What was your least favourite series? Remember not liking Series 12 when it came out. The CGI ones that get a bit weird. I don't like those much now, but I haven't seen them since they came out, like 10 years ago. I don't really go and watch them again, so... What are your favourite episodes or least favourite episodes from your Thomas series that you've written, and what was your inspiration to make those episodes? My favourite used to definitely be Stationary, just because I thought it was a nice story and everything was just jovial and it all came together very well, and the characters were quite strong. But since then, I think perhaps Rheneas Cabs' Fear sort of overtakes that as favourite. It was really nice writing for the early Scarlowy era, even though there's some inaccuracies. I was pleased with how sort of I'd written the Hetera characteristics of Scarlowy and Rheneas. Scarlo being afraid of storms, treating it as if that's in their early years when they were growing up, and sort of getting them to bond together, because as we see in very old engines, when they first sort of meet each other, they don't really get on that well, and it's something they have to work out together, as they're the only 2 engines running that line. And, you know, I wanted to show it wasn't just Scarlowy being sort of timid, naive and useful. Rheneas has fears too, and they overcome those things together. It was nice just writing for a very consolidated list of characters, just the two of them, and I love them to bits. My inspiration for that story particularly, as an example, was I just found out that in a lot of quarries in Wales, they had built little sheds out of the slate for the engines to hide in when there was blasting, quarrying the rock. And I thought that was adorable. And there was also ideas of like them using the ash from the smoke boxes to make paths and things, and I thought maybe that could be a part of the story element, but I never used that in the end. But yeah, and since then I've visited a couple of these blast shelters, and it's sort of like Audrey's element of finding something in real railway history and thinking that's quite quirky and interesting, and incorporating that into a story. So, yeah, I like that one. Least favourite episodes, as I say, sort of all the rushed ones, all the ones that aren't based on true stories, and I have seen a lot of people online boast being like, oh, I can't believe I made this entire episode in 3 days, or like in a couple of hours I've done this model, and they see that as a sense of pride, how quickly they've done something, but you watch it and it shows that they've done it in such a short amount of time, because it's rubbish. I think if it's rushed, then chances are it's going to look rushed. And I've certainly learned that through making my own stuff. It's not a proud comment to say, I made an episode in 2 days or whatever. As a young railway volunteer, how do you see the future of railway heritage looking? And what do you envisage the movement will look like when lines will be celebrating 100th anniversaries and preservation? That's a very nice question. Railways currently are not immune to time moving on. There's a lot of issues that need tackling. We have issues with engines getting very, very old, and even the youngest ones, like the BR standards, are aging a lot. Parts are difficult to come by, repairs are difficult, and we have the question of whether an engine should be original and kept preserved out of steam, like City of Truro, or run continuously like Flying Scotsman, but then none of it's original. That's a whole debate. You can see different sides. And there's issues regarding coal, especially at the minute, because the last coal mines are closing. So when they're celebrating their 100th anniversaries, I don't know. I think there will be a much bigger push, as some railways are doing now, to offset carbon emissions. We may have a situation like the Festiniog had, where engines are converted to burn oil instead, because it's becoming too expensive. And I think in that process a lot of smaller railways will suffer and possibly close because they can't afford to run steam. I think some of the bigger railways will fare okay, as I think now more than ever steam railways have really proven to be a popular tourist attraction, and I don't want to say that they're tourist attractions because they are supposed to be living museums, but at the same time I think there's been a real push to market them to the 21st century family, whether that be doing things like steam lights. You know, the Santa specials have been going on since the beginning of preservation. I think there'll be a lot more of that, and the older folk that want it to just run as a railway, we're just going to have to put up with it, I suppose, because the money must be made somehow. But generally I think the future is bright for steam railways. I think they're not just going to disappear overnight, and I think the voluntary workforce should still be there if we continue as we are right now, and older generations do let younger ones take the reins a little bit more. Things cannot necessarily just continue as they are now, because demand is changing and expectations in terms of travel are changing, and what people expect from a day out somewhere. So fingers crossed things stay reasonably the same. There's tons of new build projects going on, which will not necessarily replace older steam, potentially on the main line, but it's sort of a blend between the old and the new. I think both can coexist very happily side by side. Chocolate cake or gingerbread? Chocolate cake all the time, but gingerbread can be nice. I presume you don't mean gingerbread cake. Is that a thing? That would be interesting. I wouldn't mind that, but that would be like a Halloween exclusive thing at Costa or something, wouldn't it? Do you have any Bachmann models? I do. I own Bachmann James, 2 Bachmann Thomases. That might be it. I don't own many. Most of the ones you see in my videos, shamelessly, I steal from Harry every so often, and we essentially share out the characters between us, because it would be daft if both of us bought the entire Bachman collection, or Hornby, and both had 2 sets of them when we essentially make the same videos. So instead of overhauling Stepney again, why don't we melt him and put him back together? It's still the same metal, sort of like a rebirth, but I'm not sure if it's cheaper compared to an overhaul. I like your thinking, but I think it's slightly more complicated than that. There's a lot of different types of metals, there's a lot of rust and impurities, and it's sort of like having plasticine of different colours. Like, make Stepney out of plasticine, melt that together, everything would be different colours, and nothing would be as consistent as it was before. The harder colours will mix with the softer colours, and everything will just be very weak, so no, I don't think that's a solution, unfortunately, but I appreciate what you're going with there, I understand, but I'm perfectly alright with Stepney being rebuilt with newer parts, even if most of him doesn't become original. Most of the general public and people visiting won't bat an eyelid. They'll see Stepney on the side and recognise that is the engine that represents Stepney. You know, no other engine will be Stepney, it is that one. And many other railways have done this with existing engines. If the frames themselves ever had to be replaced, then keep them. Not necessarily on the engine, but don't throw them away. Put them somewhere, whereas people can see, oh, that's the original part of so-and-so. And you can see the engine through its life. Nothing has to be thrown away, just, replace it as you go. It's Trigger's broom situation. Have you ever considered modelling an N-gauge? If so, would you make a Stepney model? N-gauge is a little bit too small for me to model with. I know they do N-gauge terriers, and they look very nice, but no, I don't plan to. What's your favourite Thomas episode from each era? I really like the season 19 to sort of 21 episodes. One's written by Davy Moore and Helen Farrell. Thomas the Babysitter was really nice because it's such a simple plot. It shows that you don't have to have big flashy crashes and fast-paced action to have a really nice, wholesome story. Just focusing on Thomas, Annie and Clarabelle. I think that was lovely. Thoughts about the upcoming Mark Forster film? Forster? Yeah, if it exists, then it'll be fun, I'm sure. But if there's a film that ends up being like Christopher Robin, I'm all for that, because Christopher Robin's a brilliant film. And I'm able to be hired, please take my number. I'd love to work on that. I can make sure you get all the rivets right if you make an E2 replica. I've been to Brighton Works, see this video here. What's your favourite fan-made Thomas film, and why? Nobody has to be the favourite, but I don't know, maybe something like The Little Westerner. That was a nice surprise to have finally been released. Do you volunteer at the Bluebell Railway? If so, what do you do as a volunteer? Yes, I do, or at least have done in the past at Bluebell. I've not been there since the pandemic, because life's just taken a tumble. I've been volunteering at the Talyllyn Railway a lot more. In both cases, I volunteer in the locomotive department, and I'm what's known as a cleaner, which doesn't mean I'm going around with a hoover, but is essentially on the ladder to becoming a fireman and then to a driver. So I'm very much sort of hands-on with the engines, cleaning them, getting them ready in the morning, and going up, learning from the fireman how to fire the engine and do the water and everything, and couple up and fill up the tanks and the coal and all sort of physical, practical parts of a steam engine. And it's very fun. I've learnt an awful lot, made a lot of friends, and I'm hoping to become a fireman and then one day a driver. My knowledge of steam engines in general has increased tenfold by actually working on them in person, so I'd highly recommend volunteering at your local steam railway just to help out. Will your friend Harry Fenchurch make more content? YouTube's been very cruel to Harry. He's also at uni now, and time is limited. He's still working on models and things, and he does have a lot of plans for future videos, but whether he'll get around to making them, I don't know. It depends on his own life. Ever thought of doing more tutorials? Well, if you liked them, then absolutely, if they were helpful. I remember I recorded one other tutorial last year on just how to make a simple model building, like a factory building, so yeah, I'll get around to editing that. It seems people like the fact file, more serious, sort of educational almost, or discussion-like videos. So if people would like more tutorials from my limited pool of knowledge on different things, then absolutely, yeah, I'm happy to cater for that. If you had one locomotive on your layout, which would it be and why? To be obvious, Stepney. It just represents who I am at this point, and Stepney and I have a connection that can't be broken. It's sounding weird, I'm sorry, Holly, but no, it would have to be Stepney. If not, then one of the Skarloey engines. I got one. Do you sometimes travel from each railway? If you mean like in a day, sort of like travelling from one railway to another, then yes. That's happened many times where I've thought, right, I don't have much time, I need to film this, but then I'd also like to go there and film this. So sort of racing over, filming different things, or travelling on the train in many instances. Things are very well timed. Would you do commissions for people's models and do more vids in 009 scale? Yes to both. I've never publicly announced doing commissions, but on the side, if friends and such contact me privately and ask, would you be able to make this, then a lot of the times I've said yes, private commissions, but it depends how busy I am at the time. Come and ask, and chances are I may say no because I'm busy, but, if you want help with something, I'm more than willing to give it a go. More vids in 009 scale. I would love to do more Skarloey stories, and I want to build a 009 layout, and I've got to get so many other things out of the way first, but once I do, that'll be the dream. Do you like the Reading T1 number 2101, if you've heard of it? Is that the one that's supposedly the fastest steam engine in the world, and they're building a new one to beat Mallard's record? If so, I hate it, just because I'm patriotic and Mallard is the fastest, but no, really, I don't know much about it. I really doubt it beat Mallard's record. Didn't they say it went like 150 or something ridiculous? I think there would have been a bit more of a news story drummed up if that had been the case. I don't like it, therefore. You may be referring to a completely different engine, in which case, no, I've not heard of it. Do you consider yourself a Thomas fan? Has there been a change for you? Very interesting question. The obvious answer would be yes, I'm a Thomas fan because I make videos with Thomas the Tank Engine in it, but realistically, I don't really care for the show. I don't buy merchandise, really, apart from sort of like the Bachmann models, and wherever possible, I'd much rather talk about real railways. If I'm with close friends, then I'd joke around about Thomas and throw the odd reference because that's what we're all familiar with. But there's certainly been a change because I'm not a fan vividly watching the show and appreciating it and supporting them no matter what. It's very much a nostalgic thing of I watched Thomas growing up and I remember it all and I still write for the characters and things, but so do the actual scriptwriters for the show, and I don't know if they'd consider themselves to be Thomas fans, but I'd much more see myself as being interested in Steam in general, and Thomas is just a good 51% chunk of that, perhaps. Who knows? Twitter, worth it or not? I mean, it's good for the social interaction, just to get familiar with different names in different fandoms and industries, but it is true, there's an awful lot of drama and anger posted online, and I could do without Twitter. I do it just to speak to the people I know. A lot of the times I don't really remember to post. Same with Instagram. Anyone who follows me on my 2 Instagrams probably didn't remember that I had them because I barely ever post, and there's a lot more to life than social media, so no, but again, it's up to you, isn't it? Is there any future events besides Railway Thomas Tugs themed ones that you are currently interested in going to? Never been to Comic-Con or anything similar. I'm not really into major other fandoms where there's big event meetups per se. Probably goes against all the video footage I've got of me at various Tugs or Thomas things, but yeah. They are manic and full on and full of interesting life. When it comes to your film studies, what are your strengths and areas for improvement? In my BA degree, I didn't feel like I ever properly got behind the camera, whereas in my MA I've very much sort of focused on what I want to do, and it's been stop motion. I've certainly learnt a lot in terms of making a good performance, and I have a long road to go of learning, which is good. I hope I'm always learning. But in terms of character performance and things, something I've perhaps come to late because I grew up making videos about steam engines. So I've got a lot to improve in terms of human and animal performance, just because it's not what I was originally making films about. Strengths, I suppose, maybe just storytelling, because I've got sort of a background in script writing and like to sort of prioritise the story in my filmmaking. Do you like Transformers? I'm afraid not. Not really ever into that. Who's your most hated character in Thomas and Friends? Potentially Ruth, the inventor from the new series. This is not me being racist or sexist in any way, I absolutely promise. It's just, you can tell Mattel were trying so hard to be diverse, and it's like, here's this character who can do everything and she can invent, but it's achieved in such a wasted way. It's so blatantly obvious and forced. For diversity to be successful, it's got to blend in naturally. It can't seem forced, and Ruth is just horribly shoved down your throats kind of thing. She invents ridiculous things, and yeah, she just bugs me a lot because it's wasted potential, and it could have been, she could have been done really well, but just wasn't. Could we possibly do a collaboration on Minecraft? Well, I would have said no, but underneath you say you've just started supporting me on Patreon, so if you're in the £5 or £10 tier, then absolutely. If you're in our Discord server, we play Minecraft from time to time, so yeah. Thanks for joining, very kind of you. And when am I going to do an updated model collection video? I should really do that at some point, but yeah, maybe later this year or next year, then absolutely I'll do an updated one, because the collection's changed quite a lot. Good idea. How long did it take you to get all the model trains you have? 22 years of my life, really, because I've been collecting them since I was young. I didn't properly start buying them myself until about 2013, though. So about 9 years, 8-9 years, something like that, I suppose. Out of all the videos you've done on this channel, what would you say is the one you're most proud of and why? I would say one of the big episodes and productions that have taken a long time to make, but really, the end of year videos I do each year, just summarising everything that's happened, I really like doing those, just because it's so nice to be able to watch everything I've done in that year in one go, and look at all the memories consolidated in one place, and they're really fun. Same with the 20,000 subscribers music video I did, Any Road. It wasn't a video that took a long time to make, but I'm proud of it just because within that are so many videos and so many friends and memories. Probably those are my fondest, I suppose. When did I first meet Matt? I presume you mean Matt Parmenter. We first met at the Bluebell Railway in 2016, but then I properly met him on the Great Model Railway Challenge in 2018, because we were on the same team. And then he went to the same uni as me afterwards, so that's why he appeared in lots of my videos up until now. When did you first come across Holly, who became your girlfriend? Yes, well, became my girlfriend very soon after meeting. We met on holiday. It sounds fake, but we met on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean. No, it wasn't Titanic. It didn't sink. That's why we're here. And I'm not frozen at the bottom of the sea. But yes, she came running up to me, and we were essentially captive for a good 12 days to get to know each other on the same ship. Wasn't anywhere spectacular, it was just around the British Isles, so not exactly exotic, but yeah, and then I continued to go and see her afterwards, even though she lives miles and miles away from me, and happy days since then. Would you try and make a HO scale Fergus the traction engine? Yeah, sure. If there's a decent kit available at some point, I think making an Aveling and Porter traction engine to go on rails would be pretty cool. I'd probably do it up as Blue Circle and then just have a face to put on it as Fergus, but no, yeah, that'd be a fun thing to model at some point. Would Old Slow Coach be featured in your series? Yeah, nothing against Old Slow Coach. Old Slow Coach appeared in Here Comes the Tide way back when, before there was an actual Trainz model of her. How would you describe Carson Marenka's video workshop and Richard the New Engine? Long hair and green and clumsy. In that order, if you like. Did you bring up Milo the new dog? He's adorable. Well, Milo's not mine. He's Holly's family. Darcy's my dog back at home, or my family's dog. But yeah, Milo's lovely. He had a previous owner, but he's fit into the family very well, and Darcy gets on with him very well. He's a bit feisty at times, but as Chihuahuas are. Ever go back and rewatch some of your old videos? Not personally, just no. But they're up there, and from time to time I'll go and refer back to a particular vlog because I wanted to remember one particular thing, and it's all there instead of going through all my folders. So How is your dog? If you mean Milo, then as I just sort of mentioned, yeah, he's fine. And Darcy, she's very well. She's growing up big and strong. She's full of energy. I've still yet to take her to go on a steam engine, but she's seen one once, and she seems alright with them. But how's the layout? The layout's doing okay. I've not been with it for a long time, but it still works. I still never got round to building a station building and finishing a couple of other bits, but as it stands, it's a good sort of testing ground when I get a new engine or something. When and how did you get every model of Stepney in your collection? A lot of them I just had growing up. The original Wooden Railway one, and the Ertl one. Got the take and play and take along ones, but I think I just had Stepney and maybe Thomas. I don't have the Trackmaster one, or any of the other ranges, apart from the Hornby one, which I bought in like 2012. What's your favourite gauge scale for modelling? 00 is useful just for how much stuff is available to buy, and it's what I'm very comfortable with. I think my ideal scale would probably be the 016.5 and O gauge. I think that's quite a nice scale size-wise. Yeah, maybe in the future I'll just sell off all my 009 stuff and scale up. What is your favourite picture of Stepney? I like some of the really early ones, seeing Stepney back when he was built, for instance. I think that's quite interesting. Where do you want to take a picture of Stepney out of anywhere in the world? Well, Stepney's pretty much retired in terms of travelling. I took him an awful lot of places throughout 2020, one for the pandemic videos I was filming, and to make the Stepney travelling around the world video. I had that in mind. I was like, right, we're just going to take him to a bunch of places. But it's embarrassing taking a model to different places, especially when there's no connection for why that model should be there. So I don't really want to do that for the rest of my life. I'm not planning to take him anywhere, but if there's like a really good opportunity, for instance, if there is a great gathering of all 10 terriers, I will take Stepney, because that's appropriate. And whenever I go to a railway where I know people are going to be there, I take him, because he's my sort of mascot, if you will. I can just put him on a table, and, you know, people will take pictures of him because it's like, oh, that's the Stepney that's in those videos, and people like to see that, rather than my ugly face. Any one place I'd take him? Somewhere very bizarre, like we'd take him to like the Great Wall of China or something. I think that would be a strange photo, so yeah, let's just be bizarre and do something like that. What's your favourite memory that relates to Thomas? Perhaps something around the 70th anniversary, and just seeing everyone come together to watch The Adventure Begins come out, which was such a big surprise. I remember watching the trailer. That was a nice sort of unifying moment, I think. But other than that, then I'd suppose being at Day Out with Thomas at Bluebell Railway in 2007, waiting in the queue to go up to Thomas's cab, and finally got there just as Stepney was coming into the station on one of the service trains, by chance. And the driver's like, oh, do you want to sort of blow the whistle? So I blow Thomas's whistle, and Stepney responded, and that was a really, really magical moment. And I think every other child in the queue must have hated me, but oh well, I've never met them since, so. What do you want to do first when the pandemic ends? Bucket list places to go to are America. I've got to do a big USA trip at some point, and the same with Australia. So, in the coming years, I suppose those will be high on my list. Is Stepney a good name for a budgie? Yeah, why not? I mean, although Bluebell the Budgie sounds quite cute as well, must admit. Do you think you will go to the Steam Museum in Ireland? Ulster Transport Museum? I've been there, but I'd love to go back and bring the camera and sort of properly make a video of it, because there's some really cool things there. They've got artefacts from the Titanic there, which I'm all about, and all of the engines are very fascinating designs. Or if you mean the running railways in Ireland, like the one that owns Merlin and Friends, then yes, I've not seen any of those. I'd love to do more on Irish steam, because it's very fascinating and often overlooked. I go to Ireland quite often, so you never know. If I owned Thomas, what would I do? Well, same as anyone, I'd do a classic series thing with the models and sort of pay respect to them in some way. I'd continue with the CGI show. I wouldn't continue with the 2D stuff that's going on, but I think the CGI thing was fine as it was in like season 20. I'd continue something like that. If you could write episodes about Stepney, what or which would they be? Well, I need to write more for Stepney, it's quite obvious. I will change that in the future, so I'll keep some of the plots private, but there's plenty to do with Stepney, whether on the Bluebell or on Sodor or whatever. I'm almost scared to write for him though, because I feel like of all the people I'm the one that's got to get him right. Same with voicing him. I never know what to voice for Stepney-wise, because I just do my normal voice, but is that vain? I don't know. What does Stepney sound like? You've got like Alec Baldwin sort of Cockney take on him, or Michelangelis is just his voice. I don't really know, but cross that bridge when it comes to it. History on your model railway. Yeah, I could do that at some point as a separate thing. If people really like my model railway that much, then sure, I can cover it in more videos. How many videos have you voiced in? Very, very, very many. There is a playlist I've got listing most of the ones that I've helped in some way on my channel. You can go and watch that. Do you have an OC, or is it just the A1 boy? I do have a list of OCs that I was trying to introduce at one stage, and I've got some scripts written for them. There was a forklift truck thing with a coal shovel on the front, which was essentially working at Tidmouth. Didn't get on with the bigger engines particularly, but I never fully got a working 3D model of it, because it was going to be filmed in Trainz. I've got a physical model of it, but I wanted the first story to be made in Trainz. I had a diesel brake tender, which I didn't do much about, but it has appeared in a few videos. I think there was a couple of engines, but I tried to sort of focus on more sort of obscure designs. There was also a Wickham's trolley called Keith that I'd written a little ballad about, but I, again, never got a model of it, so never made it. And I think some other people have already got a Wickham trolley character called Keith as their own OCs, so I'll probably step back from that. Do you plan on doing any more history videos on other engines? Yes, I do. They take a long time to research, obviously. I want to get it as detailed as possible, and accurate, of course. So there will be more, because I really enjoyed doing the Stepney one. What's your opinion on Drayton Manor's handling of the models recently? You'd like to hope that no, perhaps it's just people getting angry and, you know, they're actually not that badly damaged, but when you look at the photos and people have said like 1 week apart, the roof of George has just fallen off and things, it's just like, that hurts an awful lot. I think there are good ways of being able to display models and actually have people come and see them without damaging them. Drayton Manor could be that if it was actually properly maintained. I think a lot of the problems with Drayton Manor is the layout is just sort of switched on at the beginning of the day and then left to just run and no one's looking after it. Do you think that Charlie or Stanley could have been one of the original members of the Wellsworth and Sudbury? What, they Hudswell Clarks? Yeah, if they were around at the time, then why not, I suppose. It could be one of them. But obviously they weren't written with that in mind, I don't think. But in your own canon, why not? What was your first 00 gauge model? It was a little Hornby Pocket Rocket 040, as with most people. A little red LMS one. My dad got it from like a showroom house where they had a train set. What are your other favourite Bluebell engines besides Stepney? As I've previously clarified, I seem to like all the smaller engines, and definitely the pre-grouping stuff, probably most. So apart from Stepney, my favourite is absolutely Bluebell. Same with Nettle and Primrose, I suppose, when she eventually gets back. And Fenchurch. I really like the 01. Same with the U-boat, especially 1638. A lot of happy memories with that. I suppose a lot of the other named ones, like Normandy, Captain Baxter, and Birch Grove is really lovely. There's a list of favourites, but following Stepney, Bluebell straight away. What's your favourite ice cream? Maybe like a chocolate fudge? Are you planning to make a Bluebell Railway video? I've made a video for Bluebell before, for their 60th anniversary, and that's still on their website, I think. And it even appeared on the news. But I would like to do more. We'll see in the future if any more turn up. Do you prefer toast with or without butter? Perhaps with a side of Stepney? I wouldn't have a side of Stepney, I think that's just cruel, just eating an engine. But with butter, do people have it without? Like, ooh, I wouldn't just have dry toast. Would you consider eating Boko themed chocolate cake? No, especially if it tastes bland, or it's like green inside. Absolutely not. Do you give Stepney a kiss before you go to sleep at night? Again, no, because Holly will kill me. Will you make any replicas of any Thomas models? No, not anytime soon. I don't think I have the skill set to make accurate replicas. I can make interpretations, but no, I'll leave that to people who know what they're doing. How did you make those teak coaches that have appeared in quite a few of your videos? They are the ratio plastic kits, painting them sort of like a orangey brown, like Annie and Clarabelle kind of tone, and then getting some actual brown acrylic, and wiping that on with water, a tiny bit of water, all over each of the panels, and then wiping off most of it with a cotton bud. So essentially the brown remained sort of in the corners and down the streaks in the middle of the panel, and made it look like a sort of the wood or burnt sort of effect. So yeah, I was really pleased with how that turned out. What's your favourite models you've made? Up until now, I've always just said my favourite to have made was Big Mickey. I've made 3 now. The first one, I just remember being like, I'd love to have a model of Big Mickey. And 10 days later, I had built one. And it's very rough around the edges, but I was just surprised at myself that I could make something that complex and so quickly. What's your favourite place to visit on your travels? Well, I'm expanding the places I visit all the time, but the big Wales trips each year are probably always my favourite. It's usually where a lot of us meet up in one go, and people who I haven't seen for a long time all get to meet in a big group and just have a laugh in a beautiful place, usually at Talislin. The opportunities I've had volunteering there also just make it incredible. So probably there. Do you like Rocco's Modern Life? I've never heard of it, I'm afraid. Which one, Take Along or Wooden Railway? Wooden Railway, just because that's what I grew up with. So because you're getting involved in O-Gauge, my question is, are you doing a garden railway or an indoor railway? I am not really making either. I needed a bigger scale to film with, so it's very much temporary sets being set up and deconstructed rather than actually making a railway. If I did get into O-Gauge, I'd love to have either an indoor or an outdoor railway. Probably an outdoor, just because of the room. Do you also like Bluebell? Yes. Who's your favourite Thomas-themed channel, not including you? I don't really want to pick a favourite other channel. I think ruling out one would be favouritism. Who's your least favourite narrow gauge engine? That's a good question. Shall I annoy everyone and just say Duke? No, it's not. Duke's alright. Potentially either Hugh, if you're counting the Railway series, because he doesn't do anything, and I'd love to know what sort of characteristics he has. And I'm fine with Freddy and Mighty Mac and all of that as well, because of their real-life bases, but I think they need a lot of rewriting to work anywhere. Probably a lot of re-gauging as well. Do you have any tips on buying, building, or making buildings for model railways? Well, if you're just starting out, I'd suggest maybe not going for the really expensive resin buildings, because you don't learn much in terms of making things because they're just ready-made. So I'd suggest maybe getting something like Metcalf card kits if you want to practice actually making something, and you can customize those to your own needs and go against the kit to make it your own. If you can make 5 engines return to CGI, who would they be? Well, I can't really do that anymore, the CGI show's ended, but Stepney, Duke, Voco, Mighty Mac, maybe? That would be an interesting one. And the Ballast Spreader. Are there any characters that you think shouldn't have been in Big World Big Adventures? Most of them. They had problems in the Great Race when parents didn't know which engine was which, so Big World Big Adventures, they've really shot themselves in the foot. Best Thomas movie, Lost Treasure. Do you like SpongeBob? I did growing up, but I don't watch it nowadays. But I appreciate it for all the good memories growing up. What 3 countries do you want to visit when the pandemic is over? America, Australia, and somewhere like Norway. I've never been somewhere like that, so... How do you come up with the ideas for your stories? Very much the same as Audrey. If I've found something in some sort of railway history book or anything that it details some interesting event or contraption, if it can make an interesting story, then make it one. And I don't mean the boring ones, like, there's a lot of people read news articles of, like, train's brakes came on or something by accident, and they'll take that and think, that could be a story, but it's just so boring, nothing actually happens. I mean, like, the really interesting ones. So, like, Audrey had fish in her engine's tank or something, so things that are very obscure. Or sometimes my stories are led by, what if this happened? And occasionally, going to railways and volunteering on them has influenced stories. I think there were bits in Tank Engine versus Tender Engine where I had a day volunteering at Bluebell and then incorporated some of the elements of reasons why the trains were late into that. Was the brake van ride in one of your Talislin vlogs a regular thing, or did you get special permission? Sometimes they do have brake van rides, usually at like the Duncan Days or Petersam's Party, I think they're called now. If you mean in 2018 at the Anything Goes Gala, we're in the brake van? No, we got special permission for that, but equally the train was very full anyway, so it was probably a good thing we were in the brake van. What have been your favourite memories since starting YouTube? That's interesting. I mean, it's always the best moment when a video is actually complete and all the hard work finally pays off. Not to be vain in any way, but on the occasion when there has been people come up to me in real life and say, "Oh, you're so-and-so, thank you for making this video. I loved it for these reasons because I'm really inspired," or whatever. Those are really, really nice moments just because it humanises everything. You see a face to someone who's actually watched your videos instead of just a number. That's really heartwarming, and I don't know, I think it puts everything into perspective. The things you do in life can affect others, good or bad, and I think it's important that we try and make as much of a good impression as we can. So, as stuck up as it is, that's a very heartwarming feeling. What's it like to volunteer at Talislin? I'm thinking of doing it next summer. I love volunteering there. It's my 4th year this year, and as you'll see in the videos, I have a great time and I just get to play trains essentially. Yeah, I'd definitely recommend becoming a volunteer, not necessarily there, but anywhere that's local to you. I'd also suggest don't necessarily just go and do loco stuff like I did. Volunteer in other things, like with the track gang or being a guard in the traffic department. There's so many different areas you can help out with. Favourite Thomas & Friends merchandise item? Possibly the Hornby Stepney, I suppose. I know it's not accurate to a terrier, but it's what I always wanted when I was growing up. An actual running model of Stepney, and I was so happy when I did get it. Do you watch South Park? Nope, I'm afraid not. Stepney versus a cheeseburger, fries and a sweet tea. Who will win? Stepney always wins. He's a match for any diesel, so I can only imagine he'll be a match for fast food and tea. Are there any projects that you've always wanted to do but can't or haven't yet? I seem to be cursed making winter stories and Christmas things. Almost every attempt I've had a go at, I've had to postpone it or cancel it altogether for some reason beyond my control. Every time. And it's really spooky. All in a Spin is the closest I got to that, and that was like after 2 attempts and 3 years, so... Worst thing that came from YouTube/Railways? From YouTube? All the corporate side mess that they're currently in. Worst thing that came from Railways? I don't know. The road, I suppose. The car factory. Bank information? Big Bertha. Do you plan on getting into Thomas Bachmann or Hornby modelling? Not really, apart from, as I say, again, the Scarlowy stuff. Can you make some new models, like try and recreate Audrey's old models? Again, I don't think I have the skill for that. I'll leave that to the experts. Is Stepney going back to Sodor any time, lol? Haha. I mean, he is in my series. When Bluebell withdrew him in, like, 2014, let's just say the Fat Controller sort of asks him to come up, overhauls him at the mega facility at Crowens Gate, and he just works on Sodor for a bit now, because why not? How do you appear in other channels' videos voicing another character? I just get asked, honestly, from different people I know, or people that have recommended me. A lot of the times it's just for Stepney. You know, if someone needs a Stepney voice actor, they think, oh, Terrified is 50i Stepney. Other than that, it'll just be friends who are like, would you like to play this character? Because they know the voices I can do, or whatever. So, similarly to that, did you play Stepney in Defenders of Sodor, the Fan Man's movie? Yes, I did. I did play Stepney. I play Stepney for a fair few people. I think, for now, that might be the last question. We've been going for over an hour and a half, so hooray! I'm so sorry, but thankful to anyone who's stayed for the whole length of this, just to hear me talk constantly. I hope you found some things interesting, and I'm happy to discuss things further where there's more time. And again, thank you for being patient to everyone whilst I've not been putting out the most brilliant of videos. Have a brilliant rest of the year, and thank you very much again. Goodbye! A big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters, particularly Alex Goodman, GBH Train, Donald 9 and Douglas 10, D0280 Falcon, Sean Tempest, Kildane's Coven, Nat, and Sam Bennett.